All right, everyone, I had a great time yesterday because it was funny. The legacy media, before the shooting happened, had to report on something that I'm sure they never wanted to write these headlines. Trump not a criminal target in the Mueller probe. Oh my goodness, how it pained them to have to write that down on a memo to send out for a press release. How pained they must have been to have had to admit, even on page 2, and then quickly cover it up and bury it with YouTube stuff, which is exactly what they did, trust me, by the way. Very quickly it fell off of trending for a fucking reason. They had to report that no, Trump's not a criminal target in any way. No, there's no criminal wrongdoing there as far as we know. Mueller has to tell his lawyers, no, we're not investigating him for that. It's just he happens to. He's a person of interest within the general scope of the case because he's tied to Manafort. See, this is what I've been saying for 6 months. The reason why Trump continues to be a person of interest is because Manafort worked for him, essentially, and Flynn worked for him. They're the ones primarily at this point being investigated. Mueller, at this point, has already had enough access, talked to enough people, conducted enough surveillance, so he would know if Trump had done anything particularly wrong. He would already know that. Since he hasn't done anything regarding Trump, it's obvious he's not going to because there's no wrongdoing there. But here's the thing. You can't just say to Trump, oh yeah, okay, well you're off the table now, because you might have to dig through records related to him to have his name on it, certainly, because you're going after people like Tony Podesta and Paul Manafort. This is related. We got a taste of what the overall scope of the actual criminal probe boiled down to months ago when Paul Manafort was indicted. Because the indictment mentions Tony Podesta and wrongdoing from the late 2000s. It doesn't even happen in this decade. It has nothing to do with the Trump campaign. It happened almost 10 years before the Trump campaign was a glimmer in the eye of the nation. Trump didn't know what was going on. People associated with his business may have, though. It's entirely possible. Here's what you have to admit. It's entirely possible that over the course of his career, people working for Trump have laundered money or done other criminal things while working for Mr. Trump. Necessarily, if they're working for Trump Enterprises or something, yeah, that's going to be pertinent info. You might have to subpoena some records, some emails, or some tax returns or something. So you can't just say to Trump, oh yeah, well, don't worry, you're not even a person of interest anymore, have a good day. You can't do that. Plus, the next thing Trump would do, and then Mueller knows this, the next thing Trump would do is come out and tell the American public, oh, look, they let me off the hook because I did nothing wrong. By the way, thanks to Mueller for wasting all your time and money. No, he's got to culminate his investigation into these other people. I don't personally think Trump did anything wrong. I've never thought he did anything wrong. I think the chances of him being indicted that were extremely low to begin with are now, extraordinarily even lower. And I think it's hilarious. I mean, it's great. Legacy media, after a year, saying, oh, maybe Trump will get indicted. Maybe Trump will get impeached. Maybe Trump laundered money for the Russians. Maybe Trump colluded. This isn't even real. It doesn't even seem like this is really about collusion at this point. It's gone well beyond the original mandate to look into that. And it's apparently Rosenstein was involved the other day too, and he was trending as well. They were talking about, oh, it turns out that the reason why the mandate was intentionally vague was so basically anything under the sun could be investigated. Now, at first, a lot of Trump fans they were angry. They're like, oh, see, look, they just wanted to nail him for anything they could get him for, and all these others are trying to pick, it's the deep state lashing back. In a way, though, it would make sense, because if you're not 100% sure what wrongdoing you're looking for, you're going to need to cast the net a little bit wider. Now, it's kind of underhanded. It's not exactly the way the legal system is supposed to work, but it does appear to have been affected. Look, Manafort was laundering money. And he was tied with Ukraine when he was doing this, not with Russia. With Ukraine, Russia's enemy, at this one of Russia's biggest foes, politically speaking, a country that wanted us to arm it, wanted into NATO, please admit us to NATO so that we can, attack these Russians with impunity. And people thought, well, that might not be the greatest idea. It might start a nuclear exchange. So, we can help you, but, not so much. And that's what happens. He was tied with Ukraine at the time, not with the Russians. And he was working with Tony Podesta. John Podesta's brother. Oh, John Podesta. Who's that? Oh, isn't he a contributor to the legacy media? Was it NBC or CNN or something? So he's on the neoliberal media, number one. Oh, you mean that guy who chaired Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign? Oh, the one that got emails leaked and he's like pure Democrat mode? Oh, that Podesta. Okay, yeah. So his brother was working with Paul Manafort to imbibe foreign money. You know, the Clintons do this and they get off with it. He just wasn't as good at covering his tracks. And it is crooked and it is lopsided and hypocritical. They really should be cooking Hillary Clinton for all the money she's embezzled over the years, which it's like an open secret. No, we don't even need to investigate for the most part. It's fucking kind of obvious that wrongdoing occurred and that she's really good as a machine politician at covering her tracks. Manafort, apparently, he was drunk at the time, sent the wrong emails, like, whoops, you know, just ignore that last one where I talk about all the Russian money I've got or something. And it's just really funny. But Trump is not a criminal target from Mueller's probe. That means that at this current time, they're not even really looking into Donald Trump. You do realize what that means when he has to tell Trump's lawyers this. They're not really looking into Trump. They're just looking at people around Trump and they're saying, hey, he's going to have to be part of this probe in a de facto sense because all these people we're looking into him, a lot of them have ties to him. We might have to look into an email that he himself has sent as part of the investigation. He's not a suspect. He probably didn't do anything wrong. We're not investigating him, but we need to tell you in advance. Yeah, we might be going through some of his fucking stuff. By the way, Trump was probably laughing out his asshole in both directions when he heard this. And he was sitting there, yeah, he was probably guffawing and drinking liquid gold or something. Trump knows what Trump did. He's done everything, stabbing people in the back, Manhattan magnate style, but I don't think he laundered money for the Russians. I don't think he colluded with a foreign state. I think he won the election fair and square, and there are just a lot of people who can't get over that fact, including the person he ran against. She still hasn't gotten over it, still blames everyone else. And then when you call her out as whining about it so constantly and really sinking the Democrats' approval when she does this, because people are making campaign ads where they take clips of Hillary Clinton talking down to American voters, and it's effective. It was very effective in 2016. It doesn't matter if she's running or not. It's like Tom Perez. Tom Perez isn't running for a position, but if he says something stupid, you can bet that that's going to end up in a campaign ad because he's the head of the DNC. She is the ideological head of the Democratic Party. She is the most famous, powerful Democrat right now. Last presidential candidate they fielded, they don't have anyone else. Who else is going to be? Al Franken? Nancy Pelosi? Conyers? Joe Kennedy? That dude that made that one good speech and then he disappeared because they're like, okay, Joe, you've done your bit. Go the fuck away. You're too young to run for the presidency. We don't care about you yet. Wait until 2024. That's really what's going to happen. No, Trump is not the subject of a criminal probe because he didn't commit any crime. By now, after a year, don't you think they would have found some evidence to allow them to get a warrant and say, okay, now he's the subject of at least part of this probe? But if there's no evidence, they've dug into half a dozen different people who were literally in Trump's inner circle. And as far as anyone knows, they didn't find any evidence that Trump was ever aware of wrongdoing, ordered any wrongdoing, or did himself any wrong. That's an exoneration of Donald Trump right there. It's an exoneration. With that thorough and long an investigation into that many people connected with you, look, let's say you get a bunch of business associates, friends, family members and stuff. The FBI comes in and investigates a dozen of them, and they never find that you are connected with any wrongdoing. That would be a de facto exoneration of your character. You're associated with these people closely, and obviously they were hiding their criminal wrongdoing from you because they didn't want you being wrapped up into it for one reason or another. Probably either to protect you or because they thought that you'd go to the FBI and tell them yourself. Look, how do these people know? How do we know? I know the Democrats would deny this up and down. How do you know Trump's not a really upstanding guy and that if he found out that Paul Manafort had laundered money 10 years ago, he would have dragged him to the FBI behind his limousine? How do you even know? You don't know anything about his personal character. You're not involved in his personal life. The only thing you know about him is what you got from wrestling or the Apprentice or something. Or his very public feud with Rosie O'Donnell or some Stern clip from 10 years ago. That's how you know Donald Trump. That's all play acting. That's how he acts in public because it's part of his brand. It's how he makes money. As a celebrity, a business celebrity. He's got to do that. He casts himself off as a cutthroat. It's how he's made billions of dollars. It's just the way that he is. Even people who claim to know a lot about Trump, I think, know relatively little about him. I think his family knows more about him. Melania or Barron, and people very close to him. A very small number of very tight-lipped associates that he pays very well. That's probably the extent of it. All these other people, I'm not. I wouldn't even be surprised if his closest political allies don't really know a lot about him. He keeps up the act even around them in private, probably. Like he's going to talk with Rand, and he starts making height jokes or something. He probably does. It's just the way that he operates. But he's not a criminal. He did nothing wrong. He's not going to get impeached. Bye-bye to the Mueller probe. Okay, liberals, you're going to have to give up the pipe dream of impeaching him. Actually get a platform, get a candidate, get a campaign going. Good luck, because you haven't even started yet. Trump, he's been campaigning since the day he took the oath of office. He's campaigning right now. He's the campaigner-in-chief, not just the president. That's about all. Peace out.